In this video, you'll learn how to use the combine function in Lumenzia. Now this is built on concepts that come from the group and color group options, so if you haven't watched those videos already, make sure you go back and watch those videos to understand those concepts first, or this video really won't make that much sense. But once you understand those basic concepts, combine has a couple of different purposes. If we look at the typical grouping scenario here, I've created a lights 4 mask on a curve and applied a group. And this gives me the ability to control the skies we see here without, in this case, affecting all this water below. Because if I didn't have this group mask, then I'd have this unwanted color shift down below. So this is great. We have a lot of control here. It's non-destructive, but there are a couple of downsides with the group mask. One is that each additional layer mask is increasing the size of your file. And if you use this on multiple different layers in your file, it can really start to add up and make a pretty bloated file. The other downside is that it's hard to visualize the mask. If I look at this mask, I don't really know which parts of this mask are being applied. Now I can turn my adjustment on and off and try and look for the changes, but it can be a little bit confusing. Having a single mask would be a much easier way to understand what is going on with these changes here. So if we click on Combine, Lumenzia is going to merge them into a single mask, and now we can visualize this mask and we can see, yep, it's only applying lights 4 to the sky and not below. The other advantage, if we look at the file size here, we're at 253 megs now, but if we undo, previously we were at 281 megabytes. So we've saved a little bit over, well, around 30 megabytes of file size just by combining these two together. So a couple of nice advantages to the combine function. Now let's step back, and I just want to make a few more comments to make sure you understand all the nuances of this tool. It's pretty simple, there's not a lot of options, but you should be aware that even if you change the opacity of your layer, whether that's the group or the underlying layer, you change the fill opacity, or if you go into your masks and actually start to tweak, say, the feathering or the density on these, you can make all these changes and they will be merged automatically. So for example, let's feather this thing pretty good here. We'll jump it up and then we'll click on Combine. And when we do this, we now get this resulting mask. I'm going to click on it, and notice we didn't have that clean edge where the bottom was knocked out because we have a little bit of density letting it through and a little bit of the feathering. But this is exactly the same resulting mask that we had before. Now notice that density is 100% and feather is 0 because in the combined mask we have essentially baked in the density and feather calculations among the multiple different masks in order to get this finished result. So you're not going to be able to further adjust the feather, but of course you've merged these masks together, so you've just lost that capability. But all those different adjustments you make, they will be considered. So if we look just before and after, visually you can see that the image is not changing with this. It's just simply showing you this representation of the combined group and the underlying layer. Lastly, let me start with a new group layer here. So let's say we threw a lasso selection on, and now we're just making silly adjustments, but for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to click on Group. We'll go ahead and feather this mask. So now we have this feathered mask on our underlying group. You do not need to be merging masks. If you want, you can click Combine and it will simply merge down this way. So now we've just simply dropped this onto the lower layer. Or even if you just had, I'm going to hit Command G to get a group. If you just want to get rid of this group, so this is a group containing this underlying layer, but if I click Combine, it will get rid of it. So group will really just get rid of that master group and apply any sort of mask and feathering opacity down into the lower layers and bake that in.